now at 4:30, increased attacks from Russia are raising questions about the peace process with Ukraine. Why American officials are still hopeful that Presidents Putin and Zelensky can meet face to face. Israel says its plans to take over Gaza City are ahead of schedule. What Palestinians in the target area are saying about being forced to evacuate again. And some coastal areas are feeling the effects of Hurricane Erin even as the storm stays at sea. Where it's hiding and which areas are still at risk. Demands from Russia and relentless attacks are threatening to derail peace talks with Ukraine. As Fox's Rebecca Castor reports, U.S. officials are still hopeful Presidents Putin and Zelensky will meet face to face.
Overnight, Russia launched one of its largest attacks so far in its war against Ukraine, injuring at least 15 people and killing one. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky writing, "The Russians carried out this attack as if nothing has changed at all, as if there are no global efforts to stop this war." A peace deal is becoming more uncertain, even though the Ukrainians say they're still ready to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin. But Moscow is not happy with talks of security guarantees for Ukraine and is insisting they and Beijing have a say.
This is Russia's negotiating strategy. Vladimir Putin still thinks, in spite of 1 million casualties, that he can win the war, and he's continuing to proceed along that path.
Russia also wants Ukraine to hand over its Donbass region. Much of it is already occupied by Russian soldiers, and if they get it all, Russia says the war is over.
In order to get a good deal, both sides are going to have to walk away a little bit unhappy.
Even though there are still plenty of details to hash out, U.S. officials think it's best if Zelensky and Putin do it in person.
Let's have them meet regardless. You don't have to figure out every issue, and sometimes leaders sitting down face to face can break the logjam that their teams don't necessarily have the ability to do.
When it comes to Russia's aggressive stance on security guarantees, U.S. and European officials are mostly brushing it off unless they hear it directly from Putin. In Washington, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
Israel is pushing forward with its attacks on Gaza City as it accelerates plans to occupy more of the region. IDF airstrikes killed more than 30 Palestinians overnight, while thousands of additional Israeli troops are being sent to the area. Displaced Palestinians are leaving Gaza as those troops arrive, but many say they have nowhere else to go.
This time, there's no possibility for me to move because our displacement is death. There is no safety.
The Trump administration has voiced support for Israel's latest offensive, despite ongoing diplomatic efforts to stop the violence. A group of Palestinian orphans participated in a primary school graduation ceremony this week. Many schools in Gaza have stopped teaching so that buildings can be used as shelters during the ongoing conflict. Local officials say more than 17,000 children in Gaza have become orphans since the start of the war, with another 22,000 having lost one parent in the same time frame. A New York appeals court has thrown out President Trump's multi-million-dollar civil fraud fine. The court overturned the $464 million fine handed down by New York Attorney General Letitia James. The ruling found that he exaggerated his net worth by billions over a decade to get better loan and insurance terms. Now, while the fine is gone, President Trump and his sons Eric and Donald Jr. are banned from serving in corporate leadership for the next few years. Central bankers from around the world are meeting this week in Wyoming for an annual economic policy summit. As Amy Kiley reports, this comes as the U.S. Federal Reserve is facing increased pressure from the White House.
If you let day-to-day politics come in, that's a very noisy process.
President Donald Trump is increasing his pressure on the Federal Reserve as central bankers from around the world gather in the U.S. today. Their annual symposium in Wyoming is a major economic event impacting monetary policy and consumers. Fed Chair Jerome Powell is giving the keynote speech today. Analysts say he might signal a modest rate cut given labor market concerns. Trump wants him to be more aggressive.
This guy is a numbskull. He keeps the rates too high.
When you compromise the independence of the central bank, very bad things happen to the economy.
Trump says Powell should resign. Now he's saying the same thing about Fed Governor Lisa Cook. She's a Biden appointee who voted against rate cuts recently. A member of the Trump administration alleges she might have committed mortgage fraud by naming 2 primary residences.
There's a lot of questions here, and that's why I'm saying for the sake of the country, she should just resign. And I do think this is a very different situation than, the chair.
Cook says she won't step down and instead will provide information and facts about her financial history.
Anytime you see them going after someone who's reporting something they don't like, who's unwilling to do their bidding on interest rates, don't assume that that person is guilty of anything other than doing their job.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
Some public service workers could be blocked from student loan relief in a new rule proposed by the Trump administration. The rule would ban those workers from loan forgiveness programs if their employer was found to be involved in illegal activities. The Education Department says that would include supporting terrorism, violating immigration laws, or, quote, undermining national security and American values. The public student loan forgiveness program was started by President Bush in 2007 to help public employees, such as teachers and first responders, reduce their student debt. 2 major airlines are being sued over their window seats, or lack thereof. Delta and United Airlines are facing class action lawsuits saying they knowingly charged extra money for window seats that were actually not next to windows. The placement of electrical components in the cabin can mean that some so-called window seats are actually next to walls. Other airlines have faced similar situations in the past and now disclose ahead of time when window seats are not actually next to a window. Passengers in the suits are asking for refunds for those tickets, as well as punitive damages. Many students are heading back to class this month, and some are even starting their college journey. Today at Millersville